Hang on to your seats. Be prepared. There is nowhere better. You will be thrilled. We know it. There's only one decision. Critics are calling it absolutely sensational.
And we're back on the Our Coffee Time podcast. We're going to continue talking about growing up here in wonderful Scottsdale, Arizona, back in the day when a lot of the people don't remember. And since I'm older and Wayne is way older, he remembers back to stuff that, you know, when the... Who was here when you came in? It was just a lot of desert, wasn't it?
Pretty much. Like we said earlier, north of Camelback was starting to get thin real quick. And Lincoln Drive was way out in the sticks.
Yes, and we lived out at Doubletree and it was Bernil and 66 Place. 9124 North 66 Place is where our house was.
You lived in the desert.
We are in the sticks. We are considered in the sticks, and my mom was working at Goldwater's at the time. That was at Fashion Square.
Right.
Flashback to different times. Scottsdale, the early 60s. A parking lot full of people flocking to the newly opened Scottsdale Fashion Square. It had less than 20 stores.
Right. And it was like forever to get to Camelback and Scottsdale Road. And Scottsdale Road at the time was just this rinky-dink 2-lane trap rock road that was from, you know, our house. Bernil at the time was a dirt road to get to our house. And so it was a trip really to go to Camelback and Scottsdale because we were so far out.
Sure. Yep. Talking about Goldwater's and Fashion Square, what was the name of that mall before it was Fashion Square? You guys remember? Because it wasn't Fashion Square, it was something else.
When it first opened in 1961, Scottsdale Fashion Square was an open-air center that featured a Goldwater's department store and a handful of specialty shops. Today, with more than 200 shops and restaurants, Scottsdale Fashion Square is one of the premier shopping destinations in the country. 1961, Scottsdale Fashion Square opened as an open-air center that featured Goldwater's department store, an A.J. Bayless supermarket, and 15 small stores. Black and white photo of Scottsdale Fashion Square in the 1960s, 1970s. The open-air center expanded further west and added Diamond's department store and a roof. Camelview Plaza was built to the west, just on the other side of what is now known as Goldwater Boulevard. 1980s, two become one, Westcor and the adjacent property owner agreed to build a bridge and retail synergy to connect the two properties, adding additional shops to span across Goldwater Boulevard. 1990s, Arizona's first and only Neiman Marcus opened, and Westcor purchased the adjacent mall, renaming the entire property Scottsdale Fashion Square. Nearing 1.3 million square feet in the 1990s, Westcor negotiated an entitlement to permit an expansion south across Camelback Road. This expansion brought new, first-to-market retail anchored by the state's first Nordstrom. 2000s, early in the new millennium, another major expansion pushed the center east to make way for a dozen new brands, including H&M and Ted Baker. In 2002, Macerich bought Westcor and acquired ownership of Scottsdale Fashion Square.
And then Camelview, right? Camelview was there.
That's
correct.
The theater.
And that was the theater where it would always it would show, I would say, kind of offbeat.
It was like down in Mill Avenue, Valley Art. Yeah. Valley Art was doing artistic type movies because I was going to almost every night for a couple years. I went to a movie at Camelview.
Oh, yeah.
80 years
years ago, the vision of Red Harkins came to life. At just 18 years old, he opened his first theater right in the heart of Tempe.
When most kids are like thinking about their first semester in college or what to do about, their apartment or dorm, my dad was polishing the turnstiles, tuning up the projector, getting the sound to work.
Memories of his father rush back each time Dan Harkins visits the family's oldest standing theater, the Valley Art. Originally named the College Theater, Harkins' father built the Valley Art in 1940. This just 7 years after opening the State Theater, the first of the Harkins enterprise just around the corner.
I've seen a lot of changes here, a lot of nostalgia, and this is still the same old theater. Some of those bricks my father laid, and my mother worked in that box office for my dad, so this is really kind of the roots of our family right here at the Valley Art.
Roots planted in Arizona for 8 decades. Harkins remembers walking down Mill Avenue as a child. He also remembers watching his dad expand the family business.
Harkins theaters grew very slow in the beginning. Then in 1968 it started to really blossom. He opened some theaters in Phoenix, in Scottsdale. Unfortunately, my dad passed away in 1974. The Camelview Theater was his last theater he built before he died.
But his legacy and his company lived on. Through financial difficulties,
my accountant came to me right after my dad's passing and said, Dan, you guys are actually bankrupt.
And despite the challenges of an evolving movie industry.
The challenges have been just basically to stay on top of technology.
His son carries the torch.
I just loved my father, wanted to keep his vision alive.
And moviegoers fulfill that vision.
See, and sometimes there were some independent films that were a little sketchy. I mean, it was like really poor photography. And of course, I picked up on that, but a lot of times the audio was horrid.
Right.
The sound, and that's part of a experience when you're going to a movie is one of it is visual and the other is the sound. And if the sound is terrible, it makes it a less of a better experience, So.
But what a great Dan Harkins. I know we talked a little bit about Harkins.
You knew Dan, right?
And I did not know personally, but growing up here, everybody knows Dan Harkins.
Sure.
Right? But him continuing that vision of Camelview, of showing those independent documentary films there.
Yeah, he was quite involved in, and I went to the Kachina, which was down on Scottsdale Road, right next to the Red Dog. Remember that? And so I went to the last showing of the Kachina, and Dan's dad was there, I believe, and they showed The Wizard of Oz, and then afterwards we went outside and he took the letters from the marquee down, and so I got 2 of the letters from that last showing. So I've got them somewhere, but anyway, it would be fun to get those and maybe frame them or something, because Kachina was a great theater. So that was
old style freestanding theater.
Right.
None of the multi-screen stuff.
Yeah, we didn't. The multi-screen, I don't remember back when we were growing up. We had them. There was. Sorry, we're.
Hi.
Wow, we're taking calls.
We're doing another Our Coffee recording taping right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay. Well, thanks for that.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
And there you go. That's what happens when you're doing
my attorney.
And we're back.
Okay. Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah. Sorry.
Are we back?
I'm back.
And we're back here we had a little. We had an important phone call we had to take here, and so where were we? We were talking about the Kachina and the theaters, and
before we started this, we started talking about a little bit about Legend City, and some great history there about amusement park before its time, and it was just way too early to this market.
Legend City was, it was a go-to place for us as we were little kids. We had to get somebody to drive us down there. But so the scariest ride for me at Legend City was the Ferris wheel. And I was on with, here I'm a pilot, but
scared of heights.
I'm afraid of heights. I don't know how that works. In the airplane, I'm cool. Everything's good. I can do aerobatics, no problem. But put me on a Ferris wheel, and it's like, oh my God. But so we're on, and I'm with my friend and his little sister, and there's the three of us, and so the Ferris wheel stops at the top, and I'm holding on to the side framing because I don't want the cart, because the cart is tilting like this. And so she looks over the edge and tilts the cart, and she goes, "Look down there." And I almost lost it because I'm grabbing onto the frame going, don't do that, don't do that. So that was the worst. But the Ferris, there was another place right down the road that was just west of the stockyards. You remember the stockyards?
Oh, yeah.
All the cattle out there. That was also a restaurant. But the thing was, is the cattle, the smell when the wind was blowing west to east came right over Legend City. And it was horrid. It was.
Wayne, did you ever go to Legend City?
I did. And only, I think, once or twice. That's about it. I mean, it was originally marketed as another Disneyland.
That's right.
My name is Louis Crandall, Louis Eugene Crandall, and 50 years ago, we came up with an idea of building an amusement park for Arizona.
Well, it all begins with a man named Louis Crandall, who was an advertising agency owner here in Phoenix in the early 60s. He was a graduate of ASU, went to Mesa High School, and he fell in love with Disneyland when he went to visit California in the mid to late 50s. And he became very infatuated with Walt Disney's vision for an amusement park. And he quickly decided that this needed to be done at his home in Phoenix.
Disney people, the men that built Disneyland took an interest in what the little guy in Phoenix, Arizona was trying to do, and they just couldn't wait to be a part of it. And they came over, these men that Walt Disney used to design Disneyland. They're out of business. That's done, and some of them stayed there, and some of them now are available. And I hired them.
The park winded up being located on East Washington Street, right on the Tempe-Phoenix border, south of Papago Park. And when he saw this location, he noticed there were two ravines running through the land, which turned out to be, in the end, would be the lagoon and the river ride. And he thought this would be an ideal place.
And then all of a sudden we found that there was a piece of property available. Washington and Van Buren came down and then into Tempe. And I was able to put together a little corporation, and we were able to buy a piece of property there.
When Louis Crandall got in touch with Wallace and said, "I've got this property, and these are my plans." And I think initially we had heard for so long, there's going to be an amusement park over here, or there's going to be an amusement park somewhere in the state, and it never had the financing, whatever it was. So we waited a while, and then all of a sudden he started sending us pictures of the rides. And then when the lagoon stage came in, that was our stage, and we just had an absolutely marvelous time.
Later that same day, Ladmo's on stage. The crowd is cheering. Hold it! Justice! Here comes Captain Super now. Uh-oh, the crowd is leaving. Forget it, Captain Super, you're all through. Where are they now?
In those days, Tempe was here, and then some miles away was Phoenix, so it wasn't this one contiguous city like we have now. Tempe definitely had its own feeling and was definitely its own community, more isolated than today. And in between that was Legend City.
Legend City was our amusement park. And no, it wasn't as fancy as Six Flags over Omaha, or it wasn't as spectacular as a Disney park. but it was ours. And it was pretty darn neat. It really was. I mean, the rides were pretty cool rides. There was the tunnel and then the sky ride. It was ours. We could always go to Disneyland, but that was theirs. We were kind of guests there. And when you've got your own, even in the summertime, when you would have burn scars on your tush from sitting on the metal seats on some of the rides, great fun.
Legend City was a great place to work because the employees were mostly high school and college age. So we were all young, full of energy. You know, our whole life was ahead of us. And it was like, I used to look forward to going to work because I was going to have a great time. And on the weekends in the winter, that meant on Saturday, I think we opened at noon and ran till midnight. So it was a really long day. But it was fun. You look forward to it. And then because we were all young and full of energy, after work we'd party for a few hours and then sleep for a few hours and then go back to work at noon on Sunday.
You could drop your kids off at Legend City. You didn't see every child with parents and grandparents escorting them around. Kids had the freedom to wander around their theme park and just have a great time. And at the end of the day, when they had booed themselves crazy over Gerald and cheered for Ladmo, they could always go to the payphone and call mom and dad if they hadn't made arrangements already.
You know, you'd walk in, just a miniature of Disneyland. There'd be the train, the station, you'd go through gates to get in, then you'd walk down the main street, and then off to the right would be the boat ride where it'd take you on a river, and it'd go around, there'd be Indians and stuff like that. Further down would be the Lost Dutchman's Mine ride, and you know, you had the Kiddie Land with all that stuff going on there. There'd be an island where the band played, where you kind of walk down and the band would be down there. That drew a lot of the young high school people.
This magnificent train cost $85,000 but oh my, there's dirty work afoot. It's a real old-fashioned train holdup. Fortunately, the good guys are on the job. Naturally, the good guys win, and the Legend City Railway chugs away to happy horizons.
Well, the river ride, it was a boat that went around a channel of water, and various animated things happened. A bear came out, you know, Indians attacked. You had to go under a waterfall and through a cave where there were pirates and such.
And the spielers who pilot the boats are alone worth the admission price. Listen to this fine piece of emoting.
All be real quiet. Oh dear me, what's this free? Oh, to my right over there! Watch out! And straight ahead, folks. 1, 2, 3 is Coronado's men. There's Indians on our right over here. We're gonna be cut off the crossfire now. Everyone, please get down. Put your kids, please get down. Watch out! Oh, but straight ahead, look at Pete Fernandez. He's painfully struggling, trying to get that arrow out of his chest. Look at him, dear me. You ladies get down too, but... And straight ahead, that a strange-looking rock formation. The slightest sound might cause us some problems now. Watch out! No!
We had to have security around Gerald constantly, because he was rotten. He was terrible. It was the greatest character to play in the world. But then, so Gerald, finally Wallace caught Gerald causing some kind of trouble, blaming Ladmo. Gerald gets sent off stage. The band does a number, giving me just enough time to go boom, boom, like this, put the costume on, grab the guitar, And now, ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, Hubcap and the Wheels. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And particularly because everybody knew it was the same guy that they were just booing as Gerald. But Legend City was so unbelievably important to us.
I got a call from the manager of the park saying, as I remember, saying, there's going to be a movie film there in the morning. Can you get some people and secure the park? So we did that, and that's all I knew. I had no idea, and the back gates opened and in came this motorcycle gang amongst other people, and the name of the gang was the Dirty Dozen. And they were a pretty notorious gang back in the day, in the 60s in Arizona.
Thanks. Anytime.
Barf Boulevard. What was Barf Boulevard? Well, the official name was The Hill, and that was just an area where there were the carnival kind of rides.
The Cuddle Cups.
The Tilt-A-Whirl, the Cuddle Cups, the Rock-A-Plane, the Paratrooper, the kind of rides that spun you around and could make you a little nauseous, with the ensuing results if you'd just been down having a hot dog or whatever.
And the ever-ready hose.
Yes, so yeah, that particular section of the park got a lot of cleaning.
No one wanted to work there.
No, but those were fun rides. For the ride operator, those were the good rides because you could find money at the end of the night from people being turned upside down.
Toward the end, like the last couple of years, Wallace would say, looks like they're in kind of serious financial problems. And I don't remember the rides being in bad shape, or I don't remember them not always operating. I've read that. I really only remember what fun the audiences had.
So many people still have great memories. If you mention Legend City, I remember I used to go there. My mom used to take me, and we had a birthday party there. People just have wonderful memories of this place where the rest of the world disappeared, and you were there.
Every few years we hear of a developer who's talking about, bringing a major amusement park here, and but it never seems to materialize. And I think the perceived failure of Legend City, maybe the perception that, it's just too hot to be here, it's too hot to have an amusement park here. Look at what happened to Legend City. I think some of these ideas are still floating around out there.
If you've ever been in any of the towns where there's a Six Flags over something, they got heat and humidity. So I have no doubt that there will be another amusement park, a theme park of some kind, because there's just so much potential profit here for that. But there'll never be another Legend City.
Legend City lives on in the minds and hearts of many thousands of people.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for visiting with us at Legend City. All rides and attractions are now over. We'd like to remind you that you could leave the park either through the front gate entrance or through the Sky Ride. Thank you.
That's the reason for this Legend City in the Valley of the Sun.
All the investors were sold on a plan that was going to make that a much, much larger facility than it ended up being. And I don't know all the details, but eventually there just wasn't enough interest to keep it going, and they did close it down.
It was a long way to go down there for us.
And if you think about it, kids go to those kind of things in the summertime a lot, and it was just too hot.
Yeah,
in the summertime.
Well, yes, that's true. And then to solve that, then they built Big Surf.
Oh yeah,
remember Big Surf?
Big Surf was big. They were building that when I moved here, and I would drive by it every day on my way to. I was going to Mesa Community College. I'd drive down Hayden Road, McClintock in Tempe. And then, what are they doing? It looked like some sort of Polynesian facility. I thought, okay, and then.
Big Surf was pretty cool. That was like, the ocean in the desert. Some people had bikinis in, and if the waves were right, it might wash some of them off, and so that was always a big thing. You'd have to be careful where all the children were because the water was not always blue in those areas.
I took my kids to Big Surf, and then there were times when they were old enough that I could just dump them. This is a thing that a lot of mothers in the 70s did. We dropped our kids off and left them. Probably not till they were, 10 and 12, but still.
As a kid, Dave Manning spent entire summers at Big Surf, and he wasn't alone.
You had all ages. I remember grandparents sitting on the beach and watching the action in the water, even though they never got in the water. Every weekend, you had late night dance nights. Then during the days, it was sun and sand and surf. It was pandemonium. Rafts running over heads. Everywhere, rafts running over rafts. People washing up onto the beach. I think one of the funniest things in summer was how hot the sand got. People would race across it as quickly as possible.
But Dave wasn't interested in swimming or rafting. He was there to surf.
Had all these diverse characters together from all over the valley who had this brotherhood and camaraderie and really truly developed a culture that revolved around our beach and our waves. The culture was genuine. The waves were artificial.
Over time, new water parks featuring tubes, slides, and falls opened across the valley. But for Arizonans in the 70s, Big Surf was the cool way to keep cool.
Big Surf's story begins in 1966 when a man named Phil Dexter built wave-making machine models in his backyard in Arizona. The next year, in 1967, he created a larger working model in an abandoned pool hall. And 2 years later, in 1969, he teamed up with the Clairol Corporation, who was promoting their surf line at the time, and got the funding to build his first wave pool, the first surfable wave pool in existence. And he called it Big Surf. Built it in what was then a vacant piece of desert between Tempe and Scottsdale, right along the Salt River. Phil Dexter was a water park pioneer, and his invention actually won him several awards. Phil Dexter had officially pulled off the impossible. People can now surf in the desert over 300 miles away from the ocean. People came from miles around to experience Phil's wave pool, the only one in existence.
And it turned out to be a giant toilet bowl with a wall. And they put that water behind that wall and opened it up and made those waves, and they were pretty impressive. I went to Big Surf dozens of times, and it was a nice respite from the heat during the summer, that's for sure.
So it's going back just real quick to Legend City, a little bit of history for you guys. If you travel on I-10 between Phoenix and Tucson, headed south, between Casa Grande and Eloy, on the south side of I-10, there's some old Legend City cars, I'll call them the people movers, are up on posts that are on the four corners of this lot.
I was just going to say, out by Falcon Field, there's a restaurant there, the Monastery, and they have one of those cabs in the back.
Yep.
It's a blue one. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just wild to look at that, how small they were. But, we were smaller.
Pretty crazy.
As kids.
But going back to Big Surf, that was true engineering marvel for its time.
Mm-hmm.
And some great history there.
It was the kid that was across the street from me was from California. And was a surfer. So these two, they were two brothers, and they were just thrilled that they had that possibility to get out their boards and
surfing in the desert.
In the desert, who would have thought, right? Sure, it was like a big toilet. That's that's what everybody thought, but it was neat. And then they also had concerts there.
Oh yeah.
So I was little, and I remember going down there and seeing Iron Butterfly. Iron Butterfly was the one that did Inagata de Vida. That was in the Garden of Eden, but supposedly he couldn't say that, so it was in the Gadda de Vida.
Don't you know that I'm loving you? In a Gadda Vida, baby. Don't you know that I'll always be true? Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Oh, won't you come with me and walk this line? Please take my in a Gadda Vida, honey. Don't you know that I'm loving you? In a Gadda Vida, baby. Don't you know that I'll always be true? Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Oh, won't you come with me and walk this line? Please take my hand. It's all right. In a Gadda Vida, honey. Don't you know that I'm loving you? In a Gadda Vida, baby. Don't you know that I'll always be true? Oh, won't you come with me and take my hand? Oh, won't you come with me and walk this line? Please take my hand.
It was just cool to see them in that setting because, it was nice. The sun's setting and you're on like a beach and you've got this, toilet flushing every 5 minutes or whatever.
Great place, but unfortunately, like a lot of things around here, it was torn down not too long ago, and it's being redeveloped.
Yes, and what I was just thinking is to counteract the summer. Then right next door, remember they built the skating rink.
Oh yeah.
There was the ice skating right next
Hundreds of
door.
people showed up Sunday to OceanSide Ice Arena for what will be its final skate, but the memories will last forever.
It was a swan song of sorts Sunday in Tempe.
I'm slightly blown away by how many people have showed up today, and I'm really happy about it.
Generations of hockey players, figure skaters, and rink employees lacing them up, taking the ice one last time.
I started skating in 2000, and it was actually here.
The owners selling the rink and neighboring Big Surf Wave Park to a California developer for nearly $50 million. Big Surf already demolished. OceanSide is next.
It was time to go. Nothing we could do about it.
Adam Mims is the GM.
Playing hockey here since 1992.
Joe Turso has also been on this ice more than a decade. Now his son Wyatt is carving it up.
It's special, and being able to spend it with him too is just great. To me, it's a generational thing, but you look at how long this rink's been standing here and how many lives it's touched and how many people skated in here. It's just a special part of the community. It's niche.
Everybody's happy. That's exactly what it was like when I first came here the first time.
49 years of championships displayed one last time. Everything else being auctioned off. Signs, scoreboards, even the Zambonis going to the highest bidder.
It's been kind of sad to see everything has to go.
The doors that first opened back in 1974 will forever close at the end of this month.
I feel like we got every last drop out of this place.
As the blades of steel hit the ice Sunday, the skate inside was free. And the final tailgate around the old grill, priceless.
That's what you remember. The games are fun. The games are, hockey's the greatest sport ever. And it's fun, but just hanging out with everybody after the games is what it's about.
In Tempe.
So that whole area, so we had the ice rink, we had Casey at the bat, we had Big Surf.
Yeah, and the skate, what was the skating?
I think it was also a roller skating rink there.
It was roller skating, yep.
Roller skating?
Was it Skate World?
Skateland.
Skateland?
Maybe, I don't know. I remember taking my kids there when they were gold.
Wait, so was it ice and roller?
Yeah, two separate facilities.
Two separate facilities, but all within that same area.
And then what happened then? Then we got the little Indy cars.
Oh, Grand Prix?
Yeah. Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember, man. I can still picture my laminated driver's license from Grand Prix. I was 13, 14 years old, but that was cool.
We used to ride go-karts. There was these go-karts that were down from Legend City. They were down just west of the stockyards. It was on the north side. I think it was Van Buren. But it was a dirt go-kart track. But these go-karts were fast. And I used to love them, man, because I was racing motocross. So to go on to these go-karts in the dirt was really fun because you could slide around the corners.
Sure.
So you come into the corner and then you just step on it and the back end would swing out and you could twist it up. And oh my God, it was so fun. It was fun because the other go-kart places had governors on the engines. And these ones, I don't think they did, so they were fast.
You could just let it rip.
It was a blast. So when the Grand Prix came out, and I'm going around there, I'm thinking Indy, you know. It's like, man, I'm on this racing kind of track, and the car they were awesome.
Right.
At its peak in the 1980s, the Malibu Grand Prix empire encompassed close to 50 tiny racetracks across the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Hundreds of thousands of racers racked up millions of laps at $1 or so a pop as we chased after the ever better times posted on the electronic timers just beyond the finish line. Devotees with treasured Malibu Grand Prix licenses included not just dweebs, like me, but celebrities such as teenage Leonardo DiCaprio, the adult Tupac Shakur, and totally addicted Paul Newman. Although the cars were billed as scaled-down F1 thoroughbreds, they were nothing more than clunky, oversized go-karts with fancy fiberglass bodywork. Notwithstanding the aspirational rear wings and slick tires, the short circuits and serpentine layouts capped top speeds at about 40 measly miles per hour. Wheel-to-wheel competition was strictly prohibited, and drivers had to come to a complete stop and hand over a pre-purchased ticket before starting another lap. The Canadians sold the chain to Mount Asia in 1995. The remaining properties were sold in 1994 and then again in 2002. Since then, virtually all of the Malibu Grand Prix outposts have been shuttered, and even at those few locations where the name is still used, the company's original DNA and catch-it has long since vanished.
It was built on a double-loop chassis and featured a Fitchell-Sachs single-rotor Wankel 294 displacement engine. Later, it would be fitted with a Kawasaki 440 engine. This is an example of a Generation 2 Virage. It has the same chassis, the double loop. However, the front bumper extension is no longer welded on. It is a removable bolt-on, offering a floating wing design. Notice the hoops added over the suspension and over the roll bar, extending the protection to the driver. This was powered by a Cuyuna 440 engine and later stepped down to a Cuyuna 340.
Did you go on them?
Oh yeah.
I think it got paved. It wasn't dirt.
It was paved.
It became paved.
It was paved.
Grand Prix was paved, not this other go-kart place.
No, the one on Van Buren became paved.
Oh, it became?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it as the dirt because, man, it was like, you know, the cars like Manzanita.
Yeah,
Did you ever go to... Hey, there's a name, Manzanita. Manzanita Raceway?
Yeah.
And those were dirt tracks there.
Just west of this desert jewel sits a half-mile dirt oval known as Manzanita Speedway, site of Race of the Week's coverage of the Sprint Car Racing Association season opener. Great jump for Bobby McNovich. Schumann goes to the bottom side, the gas man to the top side. They try to come up through the back. Osling fighting with Troy Klein for third.
Squeezing by on the outside. Boy, there wasn't much room up there. But they know how important it is. They got to get up. This is where they're going to line the main event up. So every spot is very important.
Osling's car was just finished on Tuesday. They loaded it up and hauled it all the way down here to go racing with the season opener. And look at Klein slide up into the cushion. He lost a lot of ground, Brad.
Yeah, he did. Caught the right rear, jumped it, and flung the front end over, and it did. It cost him a lot of time.
Schumann picks up a couple of spots. He's onto the backside of Lee Brewer Jr., who is working Tony Stewart right now in the yellow car in front of him. Stewart trying to catch up to Osling. Good battle going on in the middle of this pack.
Well, they're just racing all over the racetrack. They're 2 and 3 wide.
And then they opened a motocross track that was behind Manzanita, so I was racing on. So when we were growing up, people were doing flat track racing with.
Light is green and they're off. Bauman from the inside. Kuba trying to close
the door on the outside. It's Bauman with the lead so far. Here comes the bullet up the inside. Baker. Meese just about steps off the motorcycle. He has to check out now. Here comes Baker. Now look at Smith up to second. He's looking for the lead. Smith goes to the lead for the first time in the main. Baker says, I don't think so. He leaves the throttle no longer, goes around the outside. It's Baker, high, wide, and handsome. Brian Smith on the inside. Here they come. It'll be Brad Baker, your points leader, to lead them off of 4. Baker, Smith, Meese, Bauman, Coolbeth right there on the number 2 bike. Meese back there in the 6th spot. As they went across the start-finish line, it is Baker, Brian Smith, Jared Meese, Bauman, Coolbeth, Johnson, Halbert, Robinson, Weidman, J.D. Beach in the 10th spot.
Motorcycles, and then there was motocross. I never did the flat track. It just didn't interest me to do that kind of riding. I like the motocross, and so when they opened the motocross behind Manzanita, that was fun because you could watch the cars and then do the motorcycles too. So. Sure. Anyway, how did we get on that to the go-karts?
Well,
and then Grand Prix. And then
they had the drag racing, which was
Beeline.
And I went there.
Bring your camera.
I'd never been to a drag racing event. And I needed to bring earplugs. I didn't know about it. They blew my eardrums out, but those things were amazing.
Saturday night at Beeline Dragway for drag racing under the lights. See over 200 drag racing cars competing in open competition. Bring your own car out and race. Drag racing is the only automotive sport where everybody can race. Beeline Dragway operates under the sanction of the American Hot Rod Association and uses the formula system for stock car classification. Using this system, every type automobile can be classified from the most powerful A-fuel dragster down to the smallest foreign car. Be there to participate in the world's fastest growing auto sport, drag racing. Bring the family. Children under 12 are admitted free. Beeline Dragway is located 4 miles north of East McDowell Road on Beeline State Highway 87. Don't miss drag racing under the lights, 8:30 Saturday night. Saturday night at Beeline Dragway, drag racing capital of the great Southwest. Beeline, 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 Beeline.
During the last weekend in January, the Beeline Dragway near Phoenix is the scene of the American Hot Rod Association's Winter Championships. Here, the nation's top cars, drivers, and mechanics assemble to compete for cash and merchandise awards totaling more than $90,000, according to the promoters. This is the first championship event of the new year. They come from every section of the country to test their driving skills and new cars under ideal weather conditions. The Herrera Caudell goer runs against Pete Robinson, the engineer from Atlanta. And Caudell advances to meet Collette for top gas eliminator. Collette, number 13 in the near lane, follows Caudell's beautiful start. And Gordy adds another top gas eliminator crown to his collection of top wins. Don Garlitz in the near lane meets Indy driver Art Malone in the Fueler run. Garlitz is first out of the hole, but breaks a blower belt, and Malone coasts to an easy victory. Even a Garlitz can't win them all. Hoover moves first and becomes the top fuel eliminator at Phoenix. And the crew's a happy bunch as they follow him down the strip. Tom Hoover, the 31-year-old mechanic from Minneapolis, captures his biggest drag racing prize in sunny Arizona.
And they used to have the advertisement, and it was an event, something we could do in the summer at night. And yeah, bring your camera. That was the big.
That was the whole thing out there.
That was incredible.
We had my friend, his name Ronnie Fassel. He was driving the Phoenix funny car. You remember that? The Phoenix funny car?
Yeah. I wasn't really into it, but I do recall.
So he was cool. That was he was in an accident that the car blew up and everything. He got hurt, but he kept racing. After he recovered. So anyway, so we end up at back to Grand Prix, and I thought I was going to be a racer, and after getting in those cars, it was like, well, the next stop is Indy, right?
Sure.
So anyway, it was really fun, but I raced motorcycles till I was 20.
Talking about family entertainment, for me, growing up here, the next thing was CrackerJax.
CrackerJax is a place kids and adults have been coming for years, maybe to ride the bumper boats or play some mini golf. There have been some rumors circulating recently that this place was about to close down, but Arizona's family has learned that's not the case. CrackerJax in North Scottsdale holds a special place in the hearts of a lot of Valley families who have been coming here for birthday parties, special events, and good old-fashioned fun since 1993.
I enjoy being outside, so it's nice to do an outside activity. It's just a fun thing to do.
Just last week, some media outlets reported that the property here had been sold to Arizona billionaire George Kurtz, a tech entrepreneur, giving the impression that CrackerJax would be closing down.
So this is one of our light-up dinosaur bubble sprayers.
Today we caught up with CrackerJax general manager John King, who wants to set the record straight. He told us the 28 acres of land where CrackerJax sits off Scottsdale Road and Paradise Lane was in fact sold, but says they have a lease that will allow them to stay open.
As a small business, word of mouth travels very fast and we depend on it. So inaccurate information can definitely turn this place from popping to sort of a ghost town.
King is doing his best to spread the word and let customers know CrackerJax will remain open for at least a couple of years. With the go-karts, bumper boats, driving range, mini golf, and arcade all up and running. There's even a message posted on the CrackerJax website. Mackenzie Straub and Emily Maxfield remember coming here for birthday parties when they were kids, so you can bet they're happy to hear the Scottsdale landmark is sticking around a bit longer.
I'm actually excited. I've been coming here since I was growing up, and it's a great place to come. So, I mean, if it went away, I'd be a little upset because I love coming out here.
Glad they're staying open?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're told this property will eventually be turned into a multi-use facility, and CrackerJax will eventually close down.
Still today, maybe you guys know what's going on with it.
It's all being redeveloped because the value of the land. I know a guy. I know about one project going in there. It's a very high-end senior, independent senior living facility. A person I know is involved in the development of this. He's told me a little bit about it. It's going to be like $10,000 a month to live there. It's going to include all your food and obviously a deluxe apartment and all kinds of activities on site. But you can still, since you're independent, you can still have a car and leave. But yeah, he's pretty enthusiastic. He's building at the back of CrackerJax so that everybody that lives there has a nice view of the mountains. But I don't know anything about the rest of it. But it's very, very prime property. I'm sure they put that golf driving range in there just to cover expenses for all these years.
Bonke is hearing from the developer who hopes the project brings in high-level talent.
For those who've lived in the valley for a while, the corner of Tierra Buena and Scottsdale Road used to be where memorable birthday parties and special events were made since the early 90s. But in the spring of last year, the property where CrackerJax sat for years was sold to Arizona tech entrepreneur George Kurtz.
Transformation begins with a vision.
On Monday, Kurtz shared some words before Scottsdale Council and residents on why his more than $1 billion development known as The Park could prosper in that spot.
I believe the park will be a catalyst that attracts the company's top innovators, technology entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and knowledge workers.
Scottsdale Council gave the green light to the project, and that comes after both planning and the airport commissions did the same. Next to one of the most affluent areas of the valley in North Scottsdale, the park plans to include over 1,100 apartment units, a 5-star hotel, a 150,000 square foot office building, more than 25,000 square feet for retail, a gathering green space, and the whole development is slated for 12 buildings that range from 1 to 10 stories, with the tallest building being 117 feet.
This project ticks all of the boxes.
Most who spoke before the council liked the plan, saying that it would help bring tech jobs and add housing, but not everyone was in favor of changes. Caroline says she's been in Scottsdale since the 70s.
With 10-story buildings, choking gridlock traffic, unhealthy air pollution, deafening noise pollution.
There's no set timetable on when construction will start, but we're told it could be 18 to 24 months for the permitting process before the start of construction.
This culture of the best and brightest will accelerate Scottsdale's growing technology community and serve as a cybersecurity center of excellence.
On that note, we're going to have to take a real quick break, so we're going to close this one out, and we'll be back in, what do we call, 2 and 2, is like they did on the Love Connection, I believe was the show. So thank you very much, and we'll see you back very shortly.